Welcome back to the third installment or part three of a three-part series that we began a few weeks ago, where I kind of put out that notion that so many times we think that it's normal to do certain things. And especially if we're seeking a mindful lifestyle, these things aren't necessarily normal. It may be what the crowd is doing, but it can be something that we can change. And I came up with 8 items that I wanted to give you permission to not have to do anymore. And so if you're just joining us, you might want to look on Bamboo and look back, because as I just briefly go through the 6 we've already conquered together, they may seem a little confusing. And so you might want to get some more details by going to Bamboo, because the past 2 are right there for you to be able to watch. So the first 6 that we talked about, number 1 was saying yes when we really wanted to say no. I think we probably all fall into that category, and we really don't have to do that anymore. And we don't have to be nasty about it. You know, there are things that we really want to do, but right now just isn't the right time. And to be honest, and to tell people that, and say, right now, I'll just have to say no. Number 2, saving everything. Even if you're a scrapbooker, that doesn't mean that you need to save everything in your house. Educators tend to be real savers, and so I know over the years how much stuff I've saved, but we don't have to save everything. Number 3, apologize when we aren't sorry. There are times when it just kind of comes out, oh, I'm sorry. Like we're always supposed to be on the defensive. And there are many, many times when we shouldn't have to apologize. Number 4, explaining our decision for what we do not want to drink, or certain foods perhaps that we're not eating. To be berated and bullied by people because they're wondering about your menu. Your menu is your menu, and you should be able to eat and drink whatever it is without having to explain yourself. 5, I know it's part of society. I've been part of it even before it was even normal anymore to be a micro, macro, crazy, get burned out and run down. You do not have to get burned out and run down. You do not have to be a multitasker. Self-care is essential, especially for all aspects of the ranch employment. But it's just good, mindful living to take care of our minds and our bodies and our emotion. And we can't do that when we're just totally burned out and run down. And it just isn't, it just shouldn't be our normal to have to say, oh yeah, I'm just so busy, when people ask us how we're doing or how we're feeling. And number 6, hating our job. I mentioned in mine, when I say how much I like my job, almost every time people say, really? Why? What? Tell me, what is it about your job that you like? There's always been kind of this mantra that we don't like our supervisor, or we don't like our job. But really, my friends, if you truly hate your job, and it's not just joining in the crowd of the ya, 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 la, 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 I hate my job kind of talk, you should find something that really fulfills you. Life is way too short to have your work, the time that you spend so many hours in something that you really truly hate. So today I have 2 more to conclude the list of things that I'm going to give you permission to stop doing for a more mindful lifestyle. The first one is being disappointed by others. And this one really presses my button. I allow others to disappoint me a lot. And for the most part, not always, but the most part, the reason that I get so disappointed by others is because they don't give me what I want or what I think I need. Sometimes people fail to meet our expectations. Now, stay with me. What if instead we dropped our expectations and gave ourselves what we need? In other words, I don't expect it to come from others. I expect it to come from myself, and I give myself what I'm looking for from others. Take a look at how you think people have let you down. Maybe you didn't get enough love or kindness from others. Maybe you're not getting it right now. Well, why can't you create more self-compassion, self-kindness, and give yourself some of those things in your life? Maybe you're not getting the appreciation and support you expect. This happens so much in families. What can we do to foster more appreciation and support in our own life if perhaps our spouses, our significant others, our kids, whoever it is not providing that for us? What can we do to provide it for ourselves? For ourselves. Now, this is a little bit more of a difficult one because you really have to put yourself in a place of how can I provide this? But I'm not saying that you're not going to express your wants or needs to others. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm just saying that when we have a lot of expectations and we're really feeling let down a lot, maybe it's time that we could appreciate the people that surround us for who they are instead of what you want them to do for you. Give that one a thought. And the final one is being dismissive of change. Stop that. If I had $1, or if I had 50 cents for every person who told me when I was talking about either change for myself or a change at school or change in programming for kids or whatever the case may be, a change, they will always come back with, well, that's easier said than done. If I had 50 cents for how many times I've heard that, folks, I'd have a whole lot of money. Because if you think about it, when somebody says, well, that's easier said than done, well, they could just dismiss the idea of change for themselves. You know, we struggle to consider what it might take to change, but when we say easier said than done, it's kind of like, I don't have to anymore. And, you know, maybe we need to really look at what's behind that statement. Are we afraid to hope for something better? Maybe we don't believe that we have what it takes to make a change. And that's all normal. But what I'm saying here for a mindful lifestyle, and I've been asking all along and cheering you all along and asking for accountability for me, is instead of being normal and just dismissing that it can't be done, how about if we take tiny steps? And that's what listening to Mindfulness with Marcia is. It's just taking tiny steps. Because big changes, for example, wanting a more mindful lifestyle, well, it doesn't just come. It's the result of hundreds of tiny little steps. You know, I have this mug that I drink my coffee in every morning, and sometimes my water in the afternoon, and it came from a very special rancher. I want to toast to the tiny steps and the little progress and those little overnight successes that when we add them all up, sometimes it's taken years and years. It doesn't always happen right away. So when we look at change, let's toast to how tiny little steps could inspire us. Let me share a couple of my toasts. I'm going to toast to a sense of accomplishment. And the sense of accomplishment I feel after just 5 minutes of pause. It's amazing how it's just 5 minutes. And after I've done a pause, I really feel accomplished and that I'm working towards a more mindful lifestyle. Sometimes by just adding that tablespoon of healthy greens to my breakfast drink, well, over a long period of time, it helps me start to feel better in my body. And it's just a matter of that tiny little step. It's not that I'm changing my whole menu every day, just adding those healthy greens. I'm going to toast to that because I've been trying. I've been trying to park farther away, especially like at the grocery store or when I'm running errands so that I get a little bit more movement. I'm going to toast to that. I'm really resisting my cell phone, being a slave to it. And I'm going to toast to this because it took me a while. I do have it by my bedside at night in case I get an emergency call from either work or family. But in the morning, I pick it up off the charger and I immediately take it and I drop it into my purse. And I do not look at it. I do not let it be part of my morning routine at home anymore. I don't look at it until I come to work, and then I look at it and see what's on my cell phone. So I'm going to toast to that because I've been working really hard at that. So I want to join you to toast to some of the tiny steps and thank those tiny steps for helping you make little changes. And if you're saying, well, Marcia, I haven't done any tiny steps yet, now's the time to toast. So this week, during your pause, I want you to think about or write down some tiny steps and then raise your glass or your taco or your Sunday or whatever it is to celebrate those tiny steps that help change your life. I know it seems kind of silly to toast, I mean, I toast by myself sometimes, but it's a way of just acknowledging and saying, hey, I'm trying to do something different for myself. And, as we kind of conclude this thing about, I don't know who decided that those 8 things were being normal. I'm happy that I'm working on those 8 things, that they're not part of my life anymore all the time. Do I still let some of them get to me? Absolutely. And maybe all of them don't apply to you. But if you are anything like me, many of them probably do. And so when you decide that you don't want to have to be normal anymore and that you don't have to live up to anybody's expectations of who you should be, then my friends, you'll begin to enjoy a mindful lifestyle. So here I am toasting you to your progress this week of having a pause and taking some tiny steps to be more mindful and not having to be normal anymore in these 8 ways. Until next time, be well.